Disclaimer. This video contains intense and frightening content meant for entertainment purposes. It may include scenes that some viewers may find disturbing or unsettling. We recommend viewer discretion, especially for those sensitive to horror themes or with underlying medical conditions that could be affected by intense content. The events portrayed in this video are entirely fictional, and any resemblance to real-life situations or individuals is coincidental. We do not endorse harmful or illegal activities. By continuing to watch, you acknowledge the content warning and proceed at your own discretion.
Story 1. The Haunting of Route 66. I had always heard that strange things happened on the old Route 66 at night, but I never truly believed it until that fateful evening. It had been a long day, and I was eager to reach my destination before darkness fell completely. My headlights pierced the pitch-black highway as I cruised down the desolate road, the only vehicle in sight for miles. The radio played static-filled music, and I found myself drifting into a trance-like state as the rhythmic hum of the tires on the road merged with the eerie tunes. My eyes were heavy with fatigue, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Suddenly, my headlights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the roadside. I dismissed it as a minor electrical glitch, but it was enough to send a shiver down my spine. I adjusted my grip on the steering wheel, trying to shake off the unease that had settled in my chest. As I continued driving, the world outside seemed to warp and shift. The trees that lined the road swayed menacingly, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. I blinked hard, trying to clear my vision, but the hallucinations persisted. Then, from the darkness ahead, a figure appeared in the middle of the road. My heart skipped a beat as I slammed on the brakes, tires screeching in protest. I came to a halt just inches from a woman who seemed to materialize out of thin air. She was pale, with long, tangled hair that obscured her face, and her tattered white gown billowed around her like a ghostly shroud. I could barely catch my breath as I stared at her, frozen in terror. She raised her head slowly, and her eyes, two dark voids, met mine. I couldn't look away, trapped by her gaze as an overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. Then, with a haunting whisper, she spoke. "Help me." I couldn't speak, couldn't move. I was paralyzed as she reached out a trembling hand toward me. It was then that I noticed her hand was missing a few fingers, and her skin was mottled with dark bruises. Panicked, I slammed the car into reverse, tires spinning as I backed away from the nightmarish apparition. But as I tried to escape, she moved impossibly fast, appearing in front of me once more. Her voice grew more urgent, a chorus of anguished souls echoing in her words. "Please help me!" With every ounce of willpower, I forced my foot onto the gas pedal, ignoring the screeching tires and the woman's cries. I sped past her, my heart pounding in my chest and my mind racing with terror. But she wasn't done with me yet. As I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw her standing in the middle of the road, her head turning unnaturally to face me. Her hollow eyes bore into my soul, and she raised her arms, fingers missing, and beckoned me to return. I couldn't bring myself to look back again, my only focus on escaping the nightmare that had consumed Route 66. The road seemed to stretch on forever, each mile feeling like an eternity. The radio's static had grown louder, drowning out the world around me as I raced toward the first sign of civilization. It was only when I saw the distant glow of a gas station that I dared to breathe. I pulled into the station, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. As I stepped out of the car, I couldn't help but glance back at the dark highway behind me, half expecting to see the ghostly figure once more. But the road was empty, and the night was silent. I never knew what I encountered on that night drive, and I don't think I ever will. All I know is that I will never venture down Route 66 at night again, for fear of the horrors that lurk in the darkness, waiting for their next unsuspecting victim. Story 2. The Haunting Road. The moonless night hung heavy as I embarked on a solitary drive down the desolate highway. My fingers clenched the steering wheel, and the rhythmic thrum of the tires on the asphalt was my only companion. The dim glow of my headlights cut through the inky darkness, revealing the haunting silhouettes of trees that lined the road like spectral sentinels. I was on my way to a remote cabin in the woods, a weekend retreat to escape the city's relentless noise and chaos. But as I ventured deeper into the wilderness, an unsettling feeling crept over me. The solitude of the road seemed to amplify the eerie silence, and I couldn't help but feel like an intruder in this hidden realm. My headlights flickered momentarily, a brief surge of panic coursing through my veins. But I dismissed it as a minor electrical glitch, a trick of the imagination born from the isolation of the night. I took a deep breath, attempting to quell the unease that had settled like a stone in my chest. As I continued driving, the trees on either side of the road began to close in, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Shadows danced menacingly on the asphalt, and I could feel their eyes upon me. The radio, which had been playing a soft melody, crackled with static, the sound unnerving in the silence. I tried to focus on the road ahead, but my mind kept drifting into dark territory. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beyond my vision, hiding in the impenetrable blackness. A chill slithered down my spine, and my foot instinctively pressed harder on the gas pedal. Suddenly, in the dim distance, I saw a figure standing by the roadside. My heart leaped into my throat as I slammed on the brakes, tires screeching in protest. I came to a stop just a few feet from a woman who had appeared out of nowhere. She was a spectral figure, her form ethereal and indistinct. Long, tangled hair obscured her face, and her tattered gown seemed to float around her like a ghostly shroud. I couldn't tear my eyes away from her, trapped in a paralyzing fear. Slowly, she raised her head, and I felt my blood turn to ice. Her eyes, empty voids of darkness, met mine, and a shiver coursed through my body. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out at first. Then, in a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of the abyss, she whispered, "Help me." I was paralyzed, my voice stolen by terror. Her outstretched hand trembled as she reached for me. It was only then that I noticed her hand, missing several fingers, and her pallid skin marred with bruises. Desperation overcame me, and I slammed the car into reverse, tires spinning as I attempted to escape this nightmarish apparition. But as I backed away, she moved impossibly fast, appearing once more in front of me. Her voice grew more urgent, a cacophony of tormented souls crying out for salvation. "Please help me!" With sheer determination, I pressed the gas pedal with all my strength, the tires screeching as I sped past her. My heart hammered in my chest, and sweat coated my brow as I raced toward the first sign of civilization. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing in the middle of the road, her hair writhing like serpents, and her eyes fixed on me. She raised her arms, fingers missing, beckoning me to return. I didn't dare look back again, my only focus on escaping the nightmare that had consumed the night drive. The road seemed to stretch endlessly, each mile feeling like an eternity. The radio's static had grown into a deafening roar, drowning out the world as I sped toward the first glimmer of civilization. It was only when I pulled into the dimly lit gas station that I dared to breathe. As I stepped out of the car, my legs trembling, I glanced back at the dark highway behind me. But it was empty, and the night was silent. I never learned what haunted that desolate road, and I'm not sure I ever want to. All I know is that I will never venture out on such a night drive again, haunted by the memory of the spectral figure and the agonized souls that cried out for help in the darkness. Story 3: Lost in the Night. The night was as black as ink when I set off on my solitary drive through the winding countryside. The road stretched ahead, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through fields that whispered secrets in the breeze. My fingers gripped the steering wheel, and the soft purr of the engine was my only companion. The headlights illuminated the road, revealing the occasional signpost and the gentle curve of the path. As I delved deeper into the rural landscape, an eerie calm settled around me. The world was shrouded in silence, with only the occasional hoot of an owl breaking the stillness. The isolation was oppressive, as if I were venturing into an untouched realm untouched by humanity. Suddenly, my headlights flickered, casting strange shadows across the road. My heart skipped a beat, and I glanced at the dashboard, hoping it was just a momentary glitch. The unease I had been feeling grew stronger, like an invisible presence in the car with me. I shook off the feeling, attributing it to the late hour and my tired mind. I pressed on, determined to reach my destination. But the sensation of being watched persisted, and I couldn't help but feel like an intruder in this remote, silent world. The road wound through thick woods, the trees looming like silent sentinels. Their branches reached out overhead, creating a natural canopy that blocked out the moon and stars. Shadows danced on the road, and I couldn't escape the feeling that they concealed hidden threats. I tried to focus on the road, my eyes fixed on the white lines that stretched ahead. But my mind wandered into dark corners, and I couldn't shake the notion that I had entered a realm where ancient secrets slept, waiting to be uncovered. As I rounded a bend, a figure appeared in the middle of the road. Panic surged through me as I slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt, just a few feet from a woman who seemed to have materialized out of nowhere. She stood there, a spectral figure in the dim light, her long, flowing hair obscuring her face. Her attire, tattered and ethereal, seemed to sway with an otherworldly breeze. I couldn't look away, paralyzed by the surreal sight before me. Slowly, she raised her head, revealing eyes that shone like twin stars in the darkness. She opened her mouth, and her voice was a haunting melody that sent shivers down my spine. "Help me." I couldn't find my voice, couldn't tear my gaze away from her. She extended a trembling hand, and it was then that I noticed her fingers were missing, the skin marked with strange, ancient symbols. Fear overcame me, and I shifted the car into reverse, tires spinning as I attempted to escape this unearthly encounter. But as I backed away, she moved with unnatural swiftness, reappearing before me. Her voice grew more urgent, as if pleading on behalf of a forgotten past. "Please, help me." I floored the gas pedal, the tires screeching as I sped past her. My heart raced, and sweat coated my brow as I fled, desperate to find refuge. In the rearview mirror, I glimpsed her standing in the middle of the road, her luminous eyes locked onto mine. She reached out, and for a moment I thought I saw her fading into the darkness. I couldn't bear to look back again, my sole focus on escaping the surreal nightmare that had enveloped me. The road stretched endlessly, each mile feeling like a lifetime. The radio crackled with static, the unsettling sound a reminder of the otherworldly encounter I had just experienced. It was only when I pulled into a small, welcoming motel that I breathed a sigh of relief. As I stepped out of the car, my legs trembling, I looked back at the road I had traveled. But it was empty, and the night was quiet, as if the encounter had never occurred. I may never know the true nature of that haunting night drive, and I'm not sure I want to. All I know is that I will never venture out on such a journey again, haunted by the memory of the spectral figure and the enigmatic world I had briefly glimpsed in the darkness.